Hello, everybody, and welcome to our virtual author story time. I'm so excited for this chance for us to be able to not only learn about a local author, but hear her story live and then also learn more about her background. If you are unfamiliar with me and my platform, my name is Jarima Gorham, and I am the founder, executive director of Burst Into Books. We've started our organization since 2018, and our whole mission is about this really rebuilding our village. I believe in order for us to do that, it's about us being able to tell our stories, being able to share our stories with one another. And so this virtual story time has really been a really great platform for us to introduce you to some amazing authors and just some books that you should add to your home libraries. And so today we have the amazing Brandi Green, who is also a part of our author circle with Burst Into Books. And so we are excited to be able to share her story and her background. And because this is a live stream, no matter when you tune in, if you have questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat and we will be able to include them in the conversation. And so, first, hello, Brandi.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm
So, go ahead.
excited to
We're going
be
to go
here.
straight to your background. Talk to the people. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Brandi Green, and I am a social worker as a background. And I'm also really active in the albinism community. As I'll go more into when I read, albinism is the lack of pigment in the hair, skin, and eyes. So I've been pretty active in the community and the organization. It's an organization called the National Organization for Albinism and
Mm.
Hypopigmentation. So I've been pretty active since like 2014. And I'm excited to be here. This is my first book and my first children's book, and I'm just excited to share more.
Love it. You just shared something that I didn't even know. So we actually before had an author story time, and it's with a young man who actually he has albinism, and his
Hmm.
mom and him wrote a book together, which was a really great conversation because it was her and him together, and him just kind of sharing his story and what led her to write the story. And she shared the sentiments of just being able to have a way to be a conversation starter, right? So she's noticed when he would go to school, if he would be in different settings, kids may not have never maybe met someone who was, albino, and then they may not even had an opportunity to have conversations about that, right? And the same thing for her son. And so the book, she said, had been like a really great way to just introduce the topic, be
Hmm.
able to, just make it an easy transition to the conversation. So I would love to really just like kind of hear your story and what led you to, make that be what your first book was about.
Sure. And I know I have that book, and I know I know
Yes,
what
you
you're talking about. So
did.
I always there's room for us all. So I love it. I love to support everyone in the community. So basically, I just grew up having a really hard time with my albinism, not really understanding, not really getting the questions answered that I had. And so I just also really didn't see myself reflected in the media and books anywhere. And I would see people with albinism, but because I was where I was in my journey, I was young and I just was scared to like talk to them and didn't want to, go up and talk to them. Just all the fear of like, would they just turn me away? What would happen? So I, of course have just grown and, feel very differently about albinism. I'm very much into educating about it. But what really, I just didn't really see a lot of books about it. And so that is what led me to this is just an offering, a gift to my community. I mean, it's for everyone, obviously, but it's specifically because I never saw myself represented. And so I wanted to make sure that there were other little girls and boys with albinism who and other children just who can see themselves. That's very important to me. Representation definitely matters, and I wanted to give my offering to the community. And I think just being able to talk about an experience that I didn't have a really connecting with somebody with albinism until I was older, but to do it through young children was really freeing for me. So that is just really why I wrote it, just as a tool to educate, and definitely a tool for, and definitely an offering for children with albinism to see one another, to see themselves reflected.
Yeah. Hey, Carlita. Carlita put in there representation matters, which is so true. I think so many times when we are talking about like children's lit and books in general, this whole conversation about representation is so important. And usually when we talk about representation, we're talking about race, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of times, that in itself is a loaded conversation. But I think
Right.
when we think about the diaspora, we are such a diverse people, even within the Black community, and so there's easily a opportunity for other stories to not be told. And so
Right.
I'm excited that you wrote this book because I believe it's true, because even within the Black community there are so many different variations and so many
Hmm.
difference that makes us who we are, right? And so when we don't address it, where I feel like there used to be such a taboo about like autism and about mental
Hmm.
health and all these other topics that at first were like hush topics, or we just kind of act like it wasn't a part of our community. When you don't talk about it, if you are someone who may be living with that, right, then you may feel like there is something wrong. And
Right.
but there's
Right.
absolutely nothing wrong, because all of us have things that make us unique. And so I think it's just important, like you said, that not only we see ourselves in gender and race and sexuality and religion and all these things, but even all of the different variations within that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even though, this story is about two Black children with albinism, it's really also about anything that makes you unique, and like really embracing that, and really being able to express, like, about whatever makes you unique. So that was really, what I wanted to accomplish in this as well.
Awesome. So when we started talking about, you shared a little bit of your background, you are a social, your experiences with albinism, but the writing process. So where did it, we could say, and I'm, a part of that, like, oh, I have a book, right? I got something I want to write about. And the process about, as I keep meeting different authors, is such a unique one, because every author, when it gets to publishing, they had their own way of doing it. And so
Mhm.
because your background isn't traditionally an author, I would love for you to kind of share what was your writing process in getting your book to the point of being able to be published.
I think it just was what I was just playing around with what I wanted to happen. I know I wanted, like I said, the freedom of young children. And I just wrote it, and I knew of a publishing company that's Black owned. I knew the owners of that when well, the wife, at least, when I lived in DC.
Mm.
And so I was just like, toying around with this idea, like I really want to do this. And so I went with like what I had, and they definitely helped me kind of think of things, kind of tweak things. It was all in house, so I went through the whole process of illustration and kind of all of that, picking what kind of fonts. It was very important to me to have a larger font because people with albinism are visually impaired. So that was very important. I was very intentional about that. And I wanted it to be bright and just really be fun. And so I think my writing process was just, really thinking through like what kinds of themes that I wanted it to explore. I definitely knew that I wanted these children to be Black and also have albinism. Albinism occurs in every race and ethnicity, but is important to me as a Black woman with albinism to really focus on that and show the different layers. So that's kind of what I was thinking through when I was going through the writing process, also thinking about what you kind of mentioned earlier, how we are such a beautiful, diverse people. Like that we can be different, like complexions, and that's also in the book. So just thinking on things like I wanted to explore, also things that I wish I had. Like I wish that my parents really sat down and talked to me and explained in an appropriate way albinism when I was younger. But I don't, there was like a lot of lack of information, and I was getting misdiagnosed at the time. So it was really important for me to put things in there that I wanted to see and themes that I wished to explore. So it was just going back and writing those things and continue to build on that.
I love that. I love that you had such a hands-on approach to the book, right? And we'll see that in a second when you do your live reading of you even mentioning the font and the
Yes.
pictures and all of that. And because I think that this is an important time to kind of talk about this. So if you are watching and we got some more people joining, I just want you to let you got some woo Auntie Brandi. Your favorite niece is on here.
Hi.
Um, but I just think it's so important that we understand that when you are an author, there are just so many different even avenues of becoming an author, right?
Mhm.
So when we talk about like your journey of becoming an author, luckily you knew of a company that was like a all in one shop and
Right.
you were able to get everything done. Being a self-published author, right? You have a little bit more of a hands-on approach on what that looks like. I've met authors who go through like a publishing company or a traditional agent, and so it's not so much that you have that much say so on things. Definitely
Right.
the manuscript you do, but as far as picking the illustrators and all those different folks, and so I think that that's really awesome to highlight that you were able to have that that close look at things because it matters because you're like okay I'm doing this for a group that usually doesn't have a platform, so I want to make sure this is right.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. I was very involved in like every detail, color, name. We kind of went back and forth on the name.
Mm,
Like I just knew I wanted Golden to be in it. But we kind of played with some different names, and they were really supportive, and just it also like helped me like walking this line of like I'm coming with ideas, but it's okay if somebody that I was working with had a better idea or had a better way of displaying it. And that's okay. It doesn't take anything away. It actually enhances it and makes it better. So I had a really good experience. And I know some people, try to figure out, doing everything in house versus not, and kind of finding the illustrator. It really is like a personal choice, but I just went with everything kind of just in one place. That was like the best for me.
yeah. You spoke to the conversation about the name, which I want us to before we get to the reading, if you could show the book cover and the title, right? So this is the title, Golden Like Me, and as we see the pictures of the protagonists in this book. Well, I would love for you to speak to how did you all land on the name and what will be the images on the book cover because that is a huge part of selling, right? So when we start thinking about how we're gonna market this and get this out, right? That's what draws us in, like the cover
Yes.
and the title. So what made you land like this is the perfect title, this is the perfect, images to start off with?
Well, I knew I wanted to have, two two characters on the front. As far as Golden, I knew I wanted to have Golden in there, but I initially was like my new golden friend,
Mm,
but I was like, does that sound like a dog? Like a golden retriever. So I didn't want it to be confused with like a new dog, a new golden retriever or something like
mhm,
that. So we kind of played around. I picked Golden because a lot, especially Black people with albinism, there are different types of albinism. So we are not all the same, and we do not all look alike. Contrary to popular belief, but most or some people with albinism who are Black have golden-ish hair. My hair is a little darker, but it was important for me to reflect that. And I knew I wanted golden in the title. We also call ourselves the Golden Family, so it's a nod to the community. And so I knew it was important for me to have golden. And like I said, I came with like my new golden friend, and then we kind of like workshopped it. And the publishing company, like somebody there actually was like, "What about golden like me?" And it like fit perfectly because they met each other and they both have albinism, and so it just worked. And I wanted it to be bright and be golden and
Mhm, mhm.
really reflect just the brightness and just the fun, like the excitement of seeing each other for the first time. And yeah, it was really important for me to capture that. So that is kind of the story of the name.
I love it. I love it. So, if you are just tuning in, thank you for joining us. This is our author story time with Brandi Green. We have learned a little bit more about her background, the process of getting her book to publication, just what was the inspiration behind even the words, the title, the pictures. And a part of this author story time, which I love, is when we do a live reading, because a lot of times as we're promoting books, it also helps, and I think it's really cool just to hear the story in the author's voice. And so we're going to at this time give the stage to Brandi. She's going to read her book to us live, and then we'll come back with a few questions. If you are watching live, if you have comments or if you have questions that you would like to add to the conversation, put them in the chat and we'll be able to address them after the live reading. But at this time, we're going to give the floor to Brandi.
Thank you. Okay, so this is Golden Like Me. My name is Madison, but my family calls me Maddie. On the weekends, my family likes to spend time together. We go to different places, to the store, to the library, and to the park. So that's Maddie. Wherever we go, we stand out because we each have different colored skin. Light like me, brown like mommy, dark brown like daddy, and light brown like my brother. But we're still family. When we go to these places, sometimes people stare at us or give us strange looks. It makes me wonder whether people stare at us because my skin is so light compared to my family. This is the family picture with the beautiful different shades of blackness. I remember the day mommy told me that I have albinism. One hot day, mommy and I were sitting on the steps in the shade eating ice cream. She leaned over and said, "Maddie, I want to talk to you about something important." She explained that I was born with albinism, which means that a person has little or no pigment in their hair, skin, and eyes. She also explained that Black people come in many shades, from fair to dark, like our family. "So, we're like a rainbow?" I asked. "Something like that," mommy said as she tickled me. She finished our conversation by telling me to embrace my albinism because it's a part of who I am and it makes me unique. Mommy reminded me that even though other people stare at us, we're as close as a loving family can be. That's them eating ice cream and mommy telling Maddie about her albinism. One Saturday, I went to the store with my family, and there was a fun surprise. I saw a family that looked like mine. As I walked closer to them, I saw a little boy with blonde hair like mine. He had green eyes. They wiggled too, just like mine. I let go of Daddy's hand, ran up to the boy, and introduced myself. "Hi, my name is Maddie. What's your name?" "Hi, Maddie. My name is Nathaniel, but my family calls me Nate." I blurted out, "We have the same face." He giggled and made a silly face. Then he looked away. He turned to his mommy and said, "We do have the same face, but she's a girl." He shrugged. His mommy bent down and said, Nate, this little girl has albinism just like you. Isn't it exciting to meet somebody else with albinism? This is Maddie and Nate meeting for the first time at the store with their families. Nate nodded his head. He looked at my family and noticed the difference in skin colors too. We're both the same, but our families are different colors, he said to me. Nate's mommy was dark brown like my daddy, and his daddy and baby sister were light brown like my brother. That's a picture of Nate's family. Our mommies talked while we stared at one another. Nate seemed surprised to see someone that looked like him. I put up my hand for a high five and screamed, You have albinism like me! Nate smiled and slapped my hand. Our mothers talked and said they would set up a play date. Nate made one more silly face before smiling and walking away. Our daddies shook hands as we all said goodbye. I was so happy that I made a new friend. The next weekend, my mommy said, We're going to the playground today to meet up with Nate and his mother. Yay! I shouted. I put on my shoes and raced to the car. It felt like a long time getting there, even though the park is not that far away. We couldn't get there fast enough. I was so happy to be seeing Nate again. This is Maddie playing when her mom told her they're going to the park. When we got there, I saw him and his mommy waiting for us. I had on a big floppy hat. We both wore sunglasses to protect our eyes. Our mommies put sunscreen on us to protect us from the mean sun. No ouchies for us today. They are ready for the park. Our mommy sat on the beach and talked or on the bench and talked while Nate and I carefully walked through the playground, taking our time. Step down, step up. Sometimes finding the steps was tough because we have trouble seeing things until we're up close. But we held hands to guide each other, especially when we climbed up the slide. When we were playing and having so much fun, when another girl came up to us and said, Why are you all wearing all that stuff? She pointed to our sunglasses and hats. You look silly, she giggled. Nate looked shy, a little sad, like maybe he was going to cry. We have albinism and we have to protect our skin and eyes from the sun. What is albinism? The little girl asked. It means that a person can be born with little or no color in their hair, skin, and eyes, I explained. We don't have the same skin color as our families, but we're both still black. People with albinism can't see well, so these dark glasses help keep the sunlight out of our eyes, and the hats protect our skin from being burned from the sun. So this is when they met the new little girl at the park and explaining that they have albinism. Oh, are you brother and sister? She asked. No, we're friends. Maddie is my first friend that looks like me. The little girl shrugged and said, Okay. She shrugged again. My name is Leah. Can I play with you? Sure. My name is Maddie, and this is Nate. We all went back to playing. Sometimes people have questions or don't understand people that look like me, but I'm proud of the skin I'm in. I'm proud to have albinism and to be a black girl too. I'm so happy that I met another person like me. I don't feel like I'm the only person who is like me anymore. I look forward to more fun times with my new golden friend. Look, that's all of them playing in the park. And that's it.
Round of applause. I
Thank
love it. I love it. I love it. In the chat, if you loved it, give us some comments, give us some feedback. Um, really, really well put together. I love this story.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, and that leads to my next question. Like, what is next? So we've already talked about that this is a story that is not told enough. Just being able to have these experiences. I loved how in the story there was another child that entered into the playground to just educate her along with the two main characters. And so, what is your envisioning for the next steps of this books? Is it
Uh,
a series? Is it going to be a series of books? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I definitely, I mean, it was important for me to kind of have that advocacy piece and the way to like explain it and, an appropriate age level. So I'm thinking about it. I'm open to kind of exploring that friendship more, seeing, maybe having more interactions and, just kind of thinking of things like I know that's important for the community and scenarios that a lot of us have gone through or experienced. So maybe exploring that. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm open to writing another book or making it a series.
Yes, yes, yes. So we have a question from the audience. They say, "Hi, this is London. Was writing the book tough?"
Hi, London. No, well, there was like challenges sometimes where it wasn't coming to me, like what I wanted to say wasn't necessarily coming to me, so I had to write it, walk away, kind of step back from it, um share with a couple of people that I trust, who are close to me. What do you think about this? Does this make sense?
Mhm.
Like, so in a sense, it was and it wasn't. Like it was coming, but it didn't always flow as naturally. Like there were moments where I had to just kind of redo some things or like originally I had them meeting at the mall and I was like, wait, do people go to malls anymore? Like, so I had to
Like, where they gonna hang out at? Where they gonna talk? Right.
so so it was tough in some ways, but I, stepped away from it and came back to it to kind of finish it up.
Awesome.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah. So I think just even to your point, knowing that the story needed to be written, I think just like you were inspired to write this story, whatever is the next steps, you'll be inspired or know when that is, because I also believe writing shouldn't be forced.
Right.
Right? So it's just about really knowing, okay, what's the best time. And so as you were sharing with others and being able to get their feedback, I would love to know, like as a child for you, as one of our closing questions, what were some of your favorite books and maybe some authors that made you fall in love with reading or inspired, maybe even inspired the type of book that you wrote?
So you're talking about like when I was growing up?
Yeah, it could even be now. Like
Oh,
who's some
okay.
of your favorite books now and authors?
Okay. I had a love for reading like since I was little. So, definitely growing up like Goosebumps and like Sweet Valley High.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
I'm
yep.
like aging myself.
No, you're
Um,
not. I read those too. Don't worry about it.
Bernstein Bears,
Hmm.
like Ramona, like I had a lot of different interests, and then I was an English major, so I read a lot. So some of the great literature in the canon, but I think some of my favorites, James Baldwin. I love Bell Hooks. I'm currently reading Bell Hooks right now. All About Love, a classic,
Hmm.
a classic. I'm really into books that are about like different, like self, I guess self helpy. Like I'm reading one on boundaries. different things like that. I love Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou. I know why the Cageburg scene's one of my favorite books ever. I just they're all like not coming to me right now, but
You said
but
some amazing titles already. Yeah.
in high school, I mean, Fly Girl, The Coldest Winter Ever, take it back a little, So I'm always
Little
just
Sister Soldier. I hear
Mr. Soldier,
you.
anything by Eric Jerome Dickey, like,
Mhm.
I'm always just been a fan of reading and reading different types of books. So one of my favorite, what's that book called? I love that book. I actually encountered in a social work class. It's not coming to me now, but it's about like trauma and how you feel it in your body,
Mm.
and how it'll come to me like when I'm done, but it's one of my favorite books. So yeah, I love reading. I don't read as much as I should now, but I do want to get back to it.
Yeah. Well, you definitely said some titles that I have read, loved. Even now, with our organization, we have books that we give out to others, and we get donations of like Goosebumps and all of those different, and kids are like, what's this, and they love it as well. So I think certain stories, even though they may have been like big in our childhood, are timeless, right? So
Yes.
kids really do gravitate towards it. So we have a couple of more comments and questions in the chat. So Diane Reason said, definitely make it a series. So just so you know, you got some time to think about the series, but they
I do. I do.
definitely make it a series. And then Kiana Butler said, were you speaking to the Body Keep Score?
Yes, it was the Body Keep Score. I just thought about that. Thank you, Kiana. It's one of my favorite books because it just talks about how trauma is like you feel it in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just in your mind, but it's a, body mind connection. So it's something that I constantly go back to. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. So as we're coming to the close, I just wanted to share a couple of things. So we each month will have authors that we are highlighting, and we're able to share their stories and their work because I believe that this work is important. I believe that, as you all just heard, there is a lack of certain stories being told. And so whenever I can have an opportunity to use my platform and introduce to someone else. So if you have not purchased Brandi's book, all of the people who've been chiming in, I need you all to support. This is a book that if you are an educator, it should be in your classroom. If you're at home, it should be on your bookshelf. If you have children, it should be a part of a conversation piece. I just think it's just so important that we really support each other in our village. And so if you have not purchase our book, please go ahead and do that. If you visit our website, Versus of Books, we have a section called the Author Circle where she is highlighted there. You can click there. But I will also want to give you a chance to just kind of share with people, where can they purchase your book?
It is on Amazon, Amazon.com, and I have a website called goldenlikeme.com that they can also go to. So either one, whatever is your preference, it is there.
Yes, please support. So, any closing thoughts as we are wrapping up our time together?
I'm just grateful for the opportunity to just be here and share my story, share my background, share what motivated me to write this story. Since I published, I've seen more books that feature characters with albinism. So that has been really healing and satisfying to see. I'm really excited to see, and I purchased them myself just to have them. And I just want to thank you all for your support, and go get Golden Like Me if you haven't done so already. It's a cute story, and I'm really proud of it and excited to just share with you all. So thank you.
I love it. As we end out, I just want you to know Natalie says, I need that for a student in my class.
Yes.
And she said, I'm definitely going to get it. So thank you so much,
Thank
Natalie,
you.
for your support. As
Thank
you said,
you.
you can go on Amazon, Golden Like Me. You can go to goldenlikeme.com. You can also go to Burst into Books, and we'll be highlighting her in our latest newsletter. She was highlighted on there. So please support, support, support. So this will come to the end of our author story time with Brandi Green. Thank you so much, Brandi, for
Thank you.
time. Thank you for sharing your story. If you are watching now, because this is live streamed on YouTube and Facebook, you can share it out for those to watch the replay. So share it with somebody. If you know that you know educators or families who have kids, and just share with them like, hey, you should learn more about this book, so they're able to continue to support and share the message. Because again, we are a beautiful people. And I think it's so important that we all are able to tell our story. So
Absolutely.
thank you, everyone who's tuned in. Thank you for your time. Until next time, we will see you later.
Thank you, Jarima.
No
Bye,
problem.
everybody.
Bye.